Wei Xiang says, on social media, people are looking for opinion leaders. You have to have an opinion and dare to speak to become a leader. Now, this right here is where I'm going to become a little bit hypocritical. I'm going to become a hypocrite. And if you want to know what a hypocrite is, basically someone who says one thing and then does the entire other thing. And this might seem weird for me, right? Because I'm always such a straight shooter. But listen, you're going to notice by the end of what I'm saying why I'm an absolute hypocrite for saying this. That's why I'm only saying this right now. And I'm probably also not going to make this into a clip because I don't really feel I want to talk about this as much, but at the same time, it is something I've been seeing pop up quite a bit lately. And I think it's gotten Twitch into some hot water. I think it's getting like YouTube sometimes into some hot water, and it's just kind of weird to me. It's just kind of strange to me if I look around as to what's going on. So what are we talking about? Well, as Wei Xiang says, streamers or content creators should be opinion leaders. They should have opinions about things and dare to speak them, which I generally agree with, in the sense that if you have an opinion that you generally stand for, if you have something that you genuinely think is good, then don't be afraid to speak it. Especially when it comes to like content creation, where if I'm playing a game right now, if I go and do something and I feel like, oh man, this is good, this is bad, I should say it. Because if I just sit there being like, oh man, this sure is something. Wow, it is something. I don't hate this and I don't like this. It's just kind of, middle of the road. Like, that's not interesting content. No one would be interesting to watch that. It would make no sense. And especially, let's say that would be a really bad game or a really good game and you wouldn't talk about that. Then that doesn't really inform the people who are watching you whether that's something they should avoid or whether that's something they should buy. So I think that there is a certain level of, you need to be opinionated. And you need to be able to freely speak your opinions if you want to. At the same time, I also think there is another element, and that is entertainment. And that's something which I think is currently being lost more and more if we look at the landscape of Twitch and the landscape of YouTube and maybe the landscape of social media. And this sounds a little bit preachy, and that's exactly what I think is kind of going wrong right now. So recently on Twitch, we've had like some pretty big issues with streamers falling into controversy about saying some weird ass things about all sorts of politics. No matter what side you stand on, you probably can say like, oh, there was this one streamer who said some really nasty shit and they should get banned, or they have been banned, and that's good. And honestly, I don't really know what to think about all that much, in the sense that, I'm not necessarily one to grab towards the ban handle because it's like, whatever, right? People say weird shit. Like, my uncle says weird shit at like Christmas dinner parties. So, if he says that, what's the problem if someone else says that? But, we recently also had that little clip talking about, like, should you censor yourself on the internet? And I do believe that if you were out there creating content and reaping the benefits of entertaining a mass of people, then you should probably also, do your duties and make sure the entertainment is fun to watch. And with that, I can kind of understand it, but still, like, especially with how YouTube has handled the whole banning situation of like kind of edgy content, that sort of stuff, like how the cake trilogy is no longer out there, I'm just not all that happy about the ban triggers. At the same time, if I look at what's being said right now, I just don't get it. I don't bloody get it. And let me explain what I don't get. So, what seems to be going on to me is that people are, rightfully or unrightfully, depending on what you look at, they're getting upset about things that streamers say or content creators say about very serious things. They're talking about like elections, or they're talking about like political events, they're talking about wars, they're talking about very serious things. And they're saying things where obviously some people will point out that they know not that much about, and they're talking about their experience, or they're talking about maybe some learning experience, or a lot of them are just talking kind of out of what they feel might be right without doing their research into it. And people are saying, do your research, know what you're talking about. And the thing that I'm wondering about is like what are you doing? What's going on? It's like, to me, streaming, content creation, is making an entertaining piece of content. Unless that's not necessarily what you want to do. If you want to be very educational, or if you want to be like a lecturer, or if you actually want to be an upsetting news source, and that's your prerogative. But I feel most people on Twitch are trying to put on an entertaining show. And I don't see any problem with getting a little bit edgy or crossing a line maybe sometimes to, make a funny joke or be entertaining. I think that Top Gear is a great example of a show which used to have some controversial moments where they would poke the fun out of people, but they would do that in a way to enhance the entertainment value. Obviously, like, you have to joke about, like, how the French would always surrender, the cheese-eating surrendering monkeys, right? It's like, yeah, if you're a Frenchman, probably not the most flattering thing you've heard, but it's kind of there to put down this kid of the French people at post show sitting there like, oh, blah blah blah. What are we gonna do with our cars? We have such great cars. Let us go make terrible cars. Oh, it's just kind of there to put up a funny skit where, in general, the hosts out there are the one that are kind of ridiculing themselves with this idea of like, oh man, like what happened with post show, right? It's putting out like a funny segment, and they're not only excluding out the French. They're doing it with the British. They're doing it with like everyone, right? You also saw it with Filthy Frank. Filthy Frank was also a character that was taking things to extreme. Like, everything was extreme. You're not supposed to think like Filthy Frank, but just taking that character to the extreme and just seeing, like, go around and, like, make fun of himself and make fun of people by in contrast with that, is like, there was entertainment in there. He wasn't going out there to be mean-spirited to people or talk about very serious events because, oh my god, I need to give my opinion, I need to say how it is. No, it was out there to enhance the value of entertainment. And that's the way that I feel content generally should be. At least that's the way I see it. You could disagree with me on this, totally, but I think that in general, like, most streamers out there are not out there to be like very serious, heavy-hitting topic streamers or something. I think that a lot of times what happens is that people feel like, hey, I gotta give a statement about this, or I have an opinion that I need to share about this. And again, I'm not against sharing your opinion, but the thing that I feel is like, I feel a lot of times people are forgetting what their job is. Your job as a content creator is to provide entertaining content. Your job as a content creator is to provide the most entertainment to the people who are watching you and give them, like, most of the time, just a nice escape out of this world. And if your nice escape, your entertainment, does involve, like, bringing up something where, God, what was a great example of, so I have actually recently made this video about Warframe criticism and, like, what was it called? Protectionism or something like that. And basically that video got kind of big because, it's something that resonates with a lot of people. They feel if I criticize the game for the flaws that it has, which it definitely has, then people get mad at me, and that seems not to be very rightfully mad, whereas these people do feel that, hey, if there's people out there just saying things that they don't know nothing about, they're just kind of attacking the game. It makes no sense. They should do their research. And I think that I didn't really do as good a job as explaining how good of a point these people that feel that the game is being attacked, that they have, especially when it comes to content creators. I feel like if you're out there just playing the game and you're having some issues, you post about that on the forums, totally fine, don't worry about it. But I know that if I'm making a video saying this part of Warframe sucks, this is horrible, this experience of going through this game it's crazy because I don't know how it is being played and I didn't do research and it's very badly placed, then that will get a lot of views because there's going to be people who run into the same thing, or there's people who disagree with it, or there's people who just have some other issue with Warframe and they want to support another issue that takes down Warframe because that makes them feel good. However, at the end of the day, it is like me not knowing what I'm doing in the game, and then me venting that frustration out to you guys via a video, via a stream. And it's kind of like, what is the entertainment value of me saying that, oh man, this part sucks in Warframe. I didn't know about this and now this sucks in Warframe. It's like, I don't think there's an entertainment value in me doing a rant about this sucks in Warframe. I don't think it's funny. Like, I actually come back and, like, thought about it. It's like, hey, like, what is funny about me just being like, oh, man, they changed this around. They took 4 years to get out the new war. That was bad. Like, what's the joke there? What's the fun there? There's no fun there. That's just me complaining to you. Kind of as I'm doing right now. So I'm going to stop this in a moment. But I just want to put that as an example. I do think that, like, the Warframe has lost his thing, or, like, lost his plot. That video, I do think that's a good example of, like, hey, I'm criticizing the thing in Warframe for being, like, the quest in Warframe for being completely wild. Like, we're gonna get into mobile phones, we're gonna get into computers, we're gonna get into Black Clover, and it's just kind of like, man, this is insane, this is wild, and kind of amp up the reactions, because for that, you're gonna have, like, the different, like, you're moving for different things, like, it's just funny, where, like, oh my god, it's gonna get higher, and I'm gonna say some insane shit, and that's gonna happen, oh my god, that is wild, like, it's funny to put it that way, because it's kind of, you can kind of laugh along with, like, me just losing my mind about, oh my god, this can't happen, this is actually happening, and then you also have the absurdity of the game, which is kind of helping that. I think that that's entertaining criticism. But at the same time, it's not entertaining all that much if I'm just going to be like, yeah, I had to log into Warframe today, and then I had to go do a mission for like 5 hours, and I thought it was boring, so Warframe sucks. Like, who cares? And this is why I say I'm hypocritical right now, because why the hell am I talking about this right now? Like, why am I telling you this? Because this right here is not entertaining to you. I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm doing the exact same thing that I'm saying people shouldn't do. But yeah, I just don't have a good excuse for that. Basically, I just saw the message right here talking about, like, how people need to have opinions and be opinion leaders to be content creators, and I generally disagree.